In honor of National Coming Out Day, this month on October 11th, we thought we'd share our coming out stories as well as how we met. Andy has a really juicy coming out story that's awkward, messy, and just cringeworthy looking back on it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy recounting these big life moments with us.
Hey everyone, two gay expats here in our former hometown of San Francisco, California, the beautiful LGBTQ-friendly city by the bay.
Andy and I met just up these stairs from the Castro exactly 4 years ago. Castro is one of the most iconic queer communities in the world. But before we tell you how we met, we're here in popular Dolores Park where Andy's gonna share his coming out story. All right, set the scene for us.
Well, my parents and my friend Cindy were visiting me in San Francisco, and I had just set down the dinner table for us when the doorbell rang. So I headed downstairs, I opened the door, and it was my boyfriend at the time. And I decided least awkward was to invite him up. I wasn't out to my parents at the time. Cindy knew. But so once he came up, I set down another plate. And at some point after dinner, my dad and Cindy decided to go outside to smoke, and I decided to go to the bathroom. And when I came back from the bathroom, it was clear that my boyfriend at the time had told my mom that I was gay. And he came out for me, and it was important for him that he come out for me, rather than allowing it to be my moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point, the evening wraps up. I have to drive Cindy to her hotel and my boyfriend to his house. And before we left, my dad said to my boyfriend, he said, "Yeah, have Andy give you our number in case you're ever in Chicago." And it was kind of clear my dad didn't know. Well, I dropped them off. I came back, and before my parents went to bed, my dad made a point of telling me, "Yeah, that boyfriend of yours, he's a nice guy." And it was clear that my mom had told him, but it was also important to my dad to let me know that it was okay, and he knew. And that was the end of that. Well, 2 months later, my dad died of a heart attack. And it was really, I was incredibly grateful for that boyfriend of mine at the time, that he had come out. There's a reason he's no longer my boyfriend. He didn't allow that to be my moment. But I was incredibly grateful because I got to tell my dad and see his reaction. It turned out to be a really positive moment. And I was grateful.
So supportive. That is exactly what everyone hopes for when they come out. My experience was super similar. I also came back from the bathroom when I came out and a very attractive young man was talking with my mom and my mom's fiance at the time. And he was offering to buy me a drink. And so my mom's fiance was like, "Oh, this young man just came over and offered to buy you a drink." And so I looked at him and I said, "I need about 5 minutes. If I could just get 5 minutes, I'll come over and find you in just a minute." And obviously I came out to my mom and her fiance at the time, and it wasn't a surprise, obviously. Just like the very first time I came out, I was on a study abroad program in Paris, France, and my friend at the time, I needed someone to come to a gay club with me. And so I told her, I said, "I think I may be gay," and she laughed and said, "Honey, you were the last one to know." So those are our coming out stories. Both very supportive and positive, so we do wish that for everyone. All right, so we are in our favorite park, Kite Hill Park, which is just a few steps from where Andy used to live when we first met. And we were gonna tell you a little bit more about our first meeting. We met on
social media. And you came over, and you were at the time staying with your best friend who is an organist.
Mm-hmm.
And you stopped by my house, and I happened to have an organ in my house, took up an entire room.
Mm-hmm.
And you were impressed by that organ. Well, you were also in queue to become a flight attendant, and I had been a flight attendant for about 10 years before I drove a train in San Francisco. And what was the third coincidence? Oh, one of your best friends was like 3 doors down from me, from where I live.
Right.
and all these three coincidences, and we talked for a long
Oh my
time
gosh,
about all these
hours,
coincidences
bottles of
and
wine.
bottles of wine.
Then he offered to drive me to the airport after we spent the next, pretty much 48 hours together as much as we could. I was obviously visiting a friend, so trying to bounce back and forth around his work schedule. So,
and you were going to take your dad on a trip?
Oh, right. So yeah, I was also going to Asia for 6 weeks. That was my next destination after San Francisco. My dad was turning 70, he had never been to Asia, and I looked after a couple of offices in Asia for my last job as an accountant. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take my dad on my favorite flight, go to my favorite bars in Hong Kong and in Singapore. So, and then we went to Thailand.
You did all that. Oh, yeah. And we called each other.
Yeah, we spoke. Andy and I spoke every single day while I was on that 6-week trip. And then right before I was headed off to Auckland in New Zealand, he was like, it would be awesome if you could, make a pit stop back here in San Francisco. And I was like, am I really going to change my trip for this guy in San Francisco? And I was like, you know what? What the hell? I'm going to do it. So I booked a flight, and Andy found out that my flight actually got canceled from Singapore to San Francisco, and it was stopping now in Hawaii. So I was able to quickly rechange it, got an upgrade, which was unbelievable.
And I had been out of the airline industry for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I messaged one of my friends who told me who was working the flight as the purser. And I messaged my friend and I said, hey, I have a friend who's on your flight. And what happened there?
And so I had been at the lounge for a little bit, had a few drinks, and then all of a sudden the lead flight attendant comes up to me and she was like, are you Andy's friend? And I was like, whew. I didn't spend that long in the lounge. So I was like, she's like, we're going to be serving you today from first class. It was super sweet. And then when I got to the airport in San Francisco, Andy had his Kindle with my name on it. It was super romantic.
Mr. Morrison.
So I was just obviously super excited, and we spent, I don't know, at least another couple of weeks, and I would always pretend to have somewhere to go. I was like, oh, my best friend, my brother. So I was just constantly be leaving.
At some point, you came back and you never left.
And then at some point I came back and he's like, could you stop pretending you have places to be? And that was really sweet. We had also just gone to a house party for that first friend that I was actually staying with when I met Andy. And a couple asked us, how long have you two been together? Wait, you are a couple, right? And we actually weren't at the time and hadn't even discussed it. So we both looked at each other and we said yes. And then so afterwards we made it official. So,
well, and then you would also walk my dog, our dog.
Yeah.
You would also bring me coffee down at the bottom of 17th and Castro, where he'd meet me with my streetcar.
Yeah.
And where were you going?
I was going to the gym, so I would get on the streetcar and ride it one stop to the gym, and he would ring his bell for me.
Ring his bell? I'd call you from the speaker outside of the bus.
It was really cute. So we're here in Kite Hill Park, just a few steps from our old apartment, and this is where I would walk Patty, our dog, every morning before I'd go down the hill to meet him for that ride. And yes, that was super sweet. So we're definitely nostalgic being back here in San Francisco. So it's our last day in San Francisco, and we're super grateful that we got to go and visit so many of our favorite places here in the city. We've hiked Golden Gate Park for incredible views of the Golden Gate Bridge. We even made our way down to the gay nude beach at Marshall's Beach with equally stunning views of the bridge. We explored the Castro neighborhood on a perfect sunny day and ate and drank at some of our favorite places. We even rode the F-Line streetcar from Castro to the ferry building downtown. And this is the line that Andy used to drive when we met. And for our last urban hike, we're leaving you here at Tank Hill with more spectacular views of the city and the Bay Area. Well, that's it for the story of how Andy and I met in one of our favorite cities. If you like this video, do us a favor and smash that like button for the almighty YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing to our channel. Thanks so much for watching.
We'll see you on the next adventure.
Hasta luego.